Hi, welcome to Rhythms of the Village again. So, we are going to talk some more about polyrhythms today. We're going to give you another example, a more difficult example of 3/4 and 6/8 playing together. So, we're starting off with the 6/8 rhythm already written on the board. So that is the rhythm that you heard just now that Baba Onoche was playing on his drum. So it's the one that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I want to explain a little bit more about how Onoche is playing that rhythm. So would you mind playing it again for them a little bit more slowly so they can see? So keep watching what his hands are doing. So you notice with the stronger beats of 6/8, which are on 1 and 4, he's actually muting the drum with his left hand. And then for beats 2 and 3 and 5 and 6, which are all lesser beats, weaker, he's lightly tapping on the drum with an open stroke in his right hand. So that's how you're getting that sound. Piccolo, 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 piccolo. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice the accent that's on 1 and 4 that we can also just split up into 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Thank you. So now let's talk about the rhythm that you heard me play on this djembe on top of that. So this is the one that we are calling 3/4. You could technically also put it in 6/4. That's a whole other can of worms. Let's write this in blue. As always, we need our meter first. So as we talked about in the last tutorial about polyrhythms, where we first introduced 3/4 against 6/8, mathematically this is all going to work out because you have 6 eighth note values within a 3/4 meter as well. It's just that the accents are in different places. So the 3/4 meter is divided into 3 separate accented beats, whereas 6/8 is divided into 2 accented beats that have 3 smaller beats inside. So now let's talk about the djembe part that I was playing that's in 3/4. So we're actually going to start by writing out these 3 counts for you, these 3 quarter note values. And we're going to write out the ands in between because they are going to demonstrate the eighth note values. Remember that the eighth note values are what are going to line up between the 3/4 rhythm and the 6/8 rhythm. So that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. Yeah. Okay, the first note that you heard was just a plain quarter note. 1, 2, and 3. And if I say that with all the ands, 1 and 2 and 3 and. So the first note value is going to be a quarter note that lasts through 1 and. Well, you know what? Actually, I'm going to put this on a higher pitch because these are open. So the quarter note lasts for 1 and. Then after that, you hear a syncopation. So you're going to hear 1 and 2 and 3 and. So listen to what happens after the quarter note value. So on 2, you're going to have a short note value. 1 and 2 and. So that means on the 2, we have an eighth note value. Okay. Now the next note value, even though it is placed on an and, which gives it some emphasis, it's a longer note. And it's actually a quarter note. It covers and 3. And then you're going to hear one muted tone. So listen to which beat that lands on. 1 and 2 and 3 and. So notice that the muted tone was on and of 3. So I'll put that on a lower pitch. So again, because the longer note value is actually on an and, so an in-between beat, you end up with syncopation, a slight accent on a beat that wouldn't usually be accented. So you might be asking yourself, well, if you're putting the accents in different places anyway, why not think of this in 6/8? If you look at it really carefully, you have a quarter note followed by an eighth note value. So we could look at that and say, I'll write it in small numbers in parentheses up here, 1, 2, 3. And then you could look at this quarter note and say, okay, 4, 5, 6. You could label it that way. In fact, that's very, very common, especially in classical music. You're going to hear 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is another way, but if you look at the next measure, you will see why we still consider this in 3/4. So the next measure also starts with a syncopation. It sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and. So you notice that we have 2 quarter notes on the second beat and the third beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and. So that is definitely dividing up that measure into 3 separate little segments. So that one looks like this. Your first beat is a rest. Then on and, we have an eighth note. And then you're just going to have quarter notes on beats 2 and 3. 2, and then 3 is a muted tone, so we'll put it down here. By the way, you don't necessarily have to label these in terms of pitch in order to show the muted tones. If you want, you can also draw it this way. Oftentimes, muted tones are depicted with an X, but not always. There's some flexibility in that. So, in any case, putting that together, let's count very slowly and look at how this rhythm works. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. Let's do that again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. So you can see there is some flexibility in this. If I count it in 6/8, especially the first measure does work as well. Check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You see how the second measure, though, presents a problem if we count it in 6/8. So this is an example of a rhythm pattern that we're introducing to you a little bit later because there are some mixtures in there of different meters within the same rhythm pattern. But I chose 3/4 simply because of the second part. It seems like it very strongly shows 3 divided beats. So, but we're up to different discussions about how you would do it. In fact, if you have another way that you would like to write this rhythm or suggest it, please put something in our comments section below here on our YouTube channel. By the way, you should also subscribe. Okay, so now we're going to show you how to put these parts together. So I'm going to play the top, and Baba Onoche is going to play the bottom part. Okay, here we go. Thank you so much for joining us for another tutorial at Rhythms of the Village. I'm Judy. This is Onoche. Come and join us again for another video. Bye.